Alright, I'm back now. So yes, today we are building a new city. Actually, I'm watching it get built. It's not moving much at the moment. Well, it's not interesting to watch really, it just slowly fills itself out as it puts everything down, including the foundations. And the actual infrastructure is using to build itself, so lots of stuff moving around right now. In there, and it's all being done by robots, so it takes a while. You might ask, why don't I add more robots? The robots require local processing power, and because of gravity and everything, the range on that processing power is kind of short range. Radio communication is annoying because of antennas that have problems. Get squished if you make them too flimsy, and making them too big causes problems if you or too massive if you would, makes problems for other things. So my radio is relatively short range. The builder bots have longer radios because it's useful, but the stations themselves need to talk to each other. So it gets built slowly, and it's a lot of stuff to put down anyway, so it'll take a few periods, I think. Not that it matters much in the grand scheme of things. Now, I've got the beginning of that set up. I've got this turned off. So I'm not making exports anymore. Technically that's annoying, but really I don't care so much. I'll have plenty of time left after I'm done with this. So, I'm going to be moving the electronics. That will be a humongous pain. Tooling isn't so bad. The problem is the existing inventories. I'll probably have to use a number of trains to move it. Not that it matters, I'll use that stuff and what's in there. I'm actually going to let it proceed and build up while because it doesn't affect the seat of building. But everything that's still getting made right now as far as electronics, there's not a lot of storage, and I'm going to be building storage for electronics now because I'm going to be managing inventories of everything. I've kind of not been bothering with that right now. They just build until they've out of room and wait for somebody to come pick it up right now. I want to move away from that model. It works well, but it makes actually monitoring how much of everything you have and making sure you don't run out of stuff a pain. So I'm centralizing all the electronics manufacturing in one spot. Very large factory in number of factories in that city. And there's Joe. To be built, all there, stored there in large storage facilities, carted out from those storage facilities to a local storage facility using long-haul freighters, long-haul trains, and then taking it out of the local storage into the main manufacturing processes using short-haul trains. A lot of that will take place in where I'm actually building the stuff right now. Those will all be converted into storage facilities for the three kinds of electronics I have. There's a very large number of electronics actually, but it's all in the end for me. From my point of view, it only matters which process you're using. We've got. Let me check my notes. Okay, 12, 10, and 6 nanometers. It's the process that has to do with the size of the components. There's various reasons for why you want one over the other. I don't actually know the details, that's all in the plans. And it all has to do with the tooling, really. So I don't care. Alright, I've just started unbuilding the remnant of the last generation forge for everything but steel. I still have a steel facility. The amount of steel I'm using is not that large anyway. Let's just make sure it's all getting working. It's working. It's working. It's working. It's working. It's all working. Yeah, so steel's working. And I may actually keep only for steel the way I'm making it right now. I haven't decided yet. Really the reason for that is the design of the forges I'm using for steel right now and that I was using for everything else doesn't work so well for everything else, but works really well for steel because the output speed is an actual problem on steel. So having forges work using a turbo is very useful. Uses a lot more energy. You have to process everything at much higher temperatures, basically is what it is. But at the end of the day, you get a much better product out, especially for structural steel that I'm using. I'm using a lot of structural steel. Alright, this wall is still working. So, yeah, we're going to be building a lot of electronics, and I'm also moving all the processing centrally, and this is causing me another problem, which has to do with the trains again. As I said, I've been using a relatively loose setup for trains. This setup is very useful for getting around things not being properly laid out, if you would. Working around lakes and just plunking things down as you grow them is a lot easier using these kinds of railroads. But once you start moving beyond a certain scale, it makes everything into a mess. One of the old adages would be a clusterfuck. And I'm moving away from that. To do that, you need to start somewhere. You need to have a city, basically, that you start off from, and everything has to be aligned to it. Which is why I'm building the city right now. Everything is going to move toward working around this city. However, I don't want to just destroy the old train system. It has interesting uses. And until I can take over those uses, removing it would be a problem. So, right now what I'm working on is actually starting that train system and building the blueprints to make it work. I'll be moving it to the already based build city blocks and working while everything else gets built. What I'm going to be doing right now is building specific train blocks, if you would, that I'll be aligning different orientations and everything to go from one spot to another. And the really big interesting part of doing it this way is the following. I need data. Right now I'm using only one data network to carry the information around, and I need more than that. I'm running out of bandwidth. So the new train network will have double the data output, which should keep me going forever. Mostly because I'm going to be separating what I do with each one of them. One of them is going to be pure data, the other one's going to be pure control. You would think this would cause delay issues, and it does, but not on a scale I care about. We're talking about days and days of top time here. Lags in the minutes would not matter. So, minutes of local time, I mean. Just to make 100% sure it's clear. I know you don't usually have to specify, but anyway. So right now, I've got this going. I've got the construction of that going. Yeah. The plan right now is I'm leaving the electronics get built up while everything else runs. The inventory is going to get moved to the new storage by train. And as local storage right now is minimal, a few train loads per, the hassle of moving it will not be a problem. It'll be worth it if just to have the inventory. Now, you have nowhere to go right now. Are we still stuck? No, the jam is just still unpacking itself. Why do I not have any keys? Alright, that makes sense. Alright, so yeah, I think that's about everything I have to say right now.